Hello, and welcome to Zap the Gender Pay Gap, the podcast series where we expose the elephant in the room. The elephant's name, the gender pay gap. I am coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee, located on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River. Nestled in the southwest corner of the state, Memphis is home to the blues, barbecue, and so much more. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker.
Thank you so very much for joining me for this episode of Zap the Gender Pay Gap. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. I want to start today's session with a heartfelt thank you. Thank you for listening to my podcast, for sharing this information with others you care about, especially women in the workplace. And thank you for the words of encouragement to continue. It is because of you that I do what I do. My mission in life is to leave each person and place better than I found it. So, if only in some small way you leave this time and space just a little bit better with more knowledge and more wisdom, then that suits me just fine. On the past several episodes, I have stressed the fact that women, we are in a fight for pay equity. Some of us don't know it because we can't see the elephant in the room. It leaves evidence, but we become immune to its presence. Kind of like carbon monoxide. It's odorless and colorless, yet with the capacity to be debilitating. And with this elephant, especially debilitating to our financial well-being, robbing us of precious oxygen. You know this elephant's name, the gender pay gap. It can rob us of a huge chunk of our pay without even flinching. You know why that is? The Pew Research Center recently completed a study on data from 2022. The title of the report from the study is Why the Gender Pay Gap Endures in the U.S. According to their research, in 2022, American women typically earned 82 cents for every dollar earned by men. It's called the female to male earnings ratio. It just so happens to be about the same as it was in 2002, 20 years ago, when women earned 80 cents to every dollar men earned. The bottom line, the gender pay gap in the U.S. hasn't changed much in 2 decades. Let's let that sink in. From 2002 to 2022, the female to male earnings ratio increased from 80 to 82%, which means that the gender pay gap went from 20% to 18%, a reduction of 2%. I'll take the 2%, but I'd rather have the entire 20. Wouldn't you? I know. I agree. Now, this data is for women in the United States. The average for women in other countries where this data is tracked, according to the World Economic Forum, is a lot less. It is a little more than 68%, which means that the gender pay gap is 32%. Want to know why I believe the gender pay gap continues to exist? I'm glad you asked. It sounds like a simple question, but truth be known, it has a very complex answer. But if I boiled it down, I'd say the top 3 reasons why women earn less than men are the following. Women are underestimated, underrated, and undercompensated. Let me say that again. Women are often underestimated, regarded as less capable than we actually are. Women are often underrated. Our contributions are not valued highly or highly enough. And then women are often undercompensated or paid a lower wage or salary than is warranted, especially compared to their male counterparts. But whether underestimated, underrated, or undercompensated, the net result is women in the workplace are often underpaid. Speaking of being underrated, I stumbled upon an article about Simone Biles, who just happens to be the greatest of all time when it comes to gymnastics. It's an opinion piece written by Amy Bass, a professor of sports studies at Manhattanville College, who has authored several books. The title of the opinion piece is The Hypocrisy of Trying to Put Limits on Simone Biles. Amy Bass opens the article with this. On the one hand, Simone Biles is the greatest athlete of all time. On the other hand, well, there is no other hand. Don't you just love that? I know, you too. Amy goes on to say, in the past, Simone's work has been underrated, underrecognized, and undervalued. And you might say, even Simone Biles? Yes, even Simone Biles. In the article, Amy Bass surmises that maybe it is because she makes things look easy and effortless. Sounds kind of like you, huh? Or maybe it's because the FIG, the governing body of gymnastics, doesn't want others to even attempt what Biles does that grabs the points that come with higher degrees of difficulty. Their fear is that if others would try those same moves, they just might hurt themselves. 2 years ago, there was much criticism when Simone voluntarily took the bench. She sidelined herself to attend to her mental health and well-being. And there was even more speculation about whether she would ever return. But boy, return she did, and with a bang. No, with a big bang. Although Simone Biles' work was underrated, underrecognized, and undervalued, she excelled anyway. She was kind of like the bumblebee. Aerodynamically, its wings are so much smaller than its huge body, but it doesn't know it, so it flies anyway. And just like the bumblebee, Simone Biles didn't listen to those who tried to limit her. She didn't even listen to the naysayers or those who tried to limit what her ability and say what she could do. And by doing so, guess what? She proved them wrong. And so can you. Can you relate to your work being underrated? Or what about underrecognized and undervalued? Perhaps you just do what you do with such ease that others may tend to overlook it, especially those who make decisions regarding your pay and promotional opportunities. You know what Simone did with her naysayers? Simone proved her naysayers wrong. And guess what? So can you. I've said it once before, and I'll say it again. Women, we are in a fight for pay equity. Some of us don't know it because we can't see the elephant in the room. You know the elephant's name, the gender pay gap, and it can rob women of a huge chunk of their pay every single payday. And it follows us even after we leave the workplace into retirement, reducing our pensions and other work-related benefits. This elephant is an eating machine. The sooner you put it on a diet, the sooner you'll feel it in your pocket, literally. Women, you work hard for your money. Let me show you how to take home all of it. Are you ready? If so, please reach out to me at gwendolynjtucker.com. I'll leave you with this. As long as women are underestimated, underrated, and undercompensated, women will continue to be underpaid and the gender pay gap will continue to endure. But it does not have to be true for you. Will you take me up on my offer? Reach out to me at gwendolynjtucker.com. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you here next Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time for the next episode of ZAP, the Gender Pay Gap. Until then, please be well.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of ZAP, the Gender Pay Gap. Please rate, review, and subscribe to or follow me wherever you get your favorite podcast. I am your host, Gwendolyn Tucker. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time.